In this short video tutorial I want to talk about the concept of exposing to the right. We'll look at this image I took in County Donegal, Ireland 2 years ago, and what you see is a seascape scene which I photographed by using 2Lee graduated neutral density filters. I had a 0.6 soft GND from here to here roughly, and then another one, a 0.6 hard GND, and those two filters gave me an evenly lit image where the sky wasn't overly bright against the foreground. If we look at the histogram here in the upper right, we see that it's looking quite good. So we don't have some cut off dark tones, we don't have cut off bright tones. Looking at this, you could say, well, it's a good histogram, let's start with this one. But the concept of exposing to the right isn't fully used here. For example, I took another photo where I increased the exposure time a bit, and now you see the histogram is pushed farther to the right. This mountain here, which was more in the middle area of this histogram, is pushed to the right, but we still don't have cut off highlights. This was as far as I could increase the exposure without getting exposure warning in camera. And this is an important thing what you need to turn on your camera. You should have a function called exposure warning, and exposing to the right means that you push the exposure as far as you can without getting those exposure warning for the highlights. And this is what I did here. And what did I gain from this? First of all, the image might look much too bright. This is far from the final image, which I'll show you in a second. But what you gain is more details in the dark tones, and also you gain a better signal to noise ratio there. Because even with an histogram looking like this, where we also don't have very dark tones, the dark tones still will contain a bit of noise, especially if you start to process the image in a harsh way, as I usually do, where you add much contrast and color adjustments. So you always gain from pushing the histogram as far to the right as you can. And if you start your processing with such a bright image, it's easier to get a high quality result. And now we have a look at the final image, where you see that the final histogram goes from the dark tones up to the bright tones. It's very evenly, and you don't see that we started with such a bright image, which was far from how it looked that evening. But if we look at the dark tones now, we see that they contain a lot of detail and no noise. So if you go out shooting in the future, first of all, switch on the exposure warning in your camera, and then try to push your histogram always as far to the right as you can.